Hey everyone, Red here, and today is the day I bring out another Rank 1 mindset. I know I've slouched on these for quite some time, and I'm looking to get right back into them. I know how much everyone's loved them. They just tend to take up a lot of time, but I've changed a few things to maybe relax on a few of the things I look for, and just to get you some of the more Rank 1 mindsets. That way, every killer gets one, and of course, we can have multiple for every year that the game changes. You know, the Rank 1 mindset for Legion really isn't the same as if I was playing Legion today, so I'll definitely need to redo that as well. I'd like to redo these every year as long as Dead by Daylight is still doing good and they're still wanted by you guys. So I hope you are all excited for today's Rank 1 mindset. With that being said, let's go ahead and break down the builds. I'm going to break them down very briefly, nothing crazy. We're going to go with Corrupt Intervention. This is going to block the 3 farthest generators from my spawn point for 2 minutes. Sloppy Butcher. Whenever I do hit a survivor, they're going to get the Hemorrhage and Mangled status effect, which is going to slow their healing, and if I ever interrupt their healing, that bar is going to decay. On top of that, for our slowdowns today, as far as gen regression, we're going to be running Scourge Hook, Pain Resonance. Whenever I hook a survivor on a Scourge Hook, the generator with the most progress is going to detonate for 15% of that progress, and if any survivors are on that gen, they're going to scream, revealing their location. On top of that, we're going to be running Pop Goes the Weasel. This is just a big combo with Scourge Hook. If they do happen to scream, you can pop that gen after hooking a survivor again for another 25%. For add-ons, I'm running my favorites today, which is Slice of Frank. Survivors carrying the configuration are inflicted with Exhausted. This just puts them in that dire threat of needing to drop pallets a little bit faster, or if they don't and risk it going down. It's very helpful, but it doesn't always come into play. It's just something I enjoy. On top of that, we're going to be running Impaling Wire. This is by far one of Pinhead's best add-ons. Whenever survivors utilize the environment to break a chain, an additional chain will target them. This is very helpful, especially for certain indoor maps. Outside of that, though, it's a very solid build, one of the best in my opinion, and my current favorite build with Pinhead. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to go ahead and get into the gameplay and into the mindset of a Rank 1 killer. Alright guys, let's get to it. Groaning Storehouse is a pretty hard map to play on for a majority of killers, as it's quite large, has very safe main building, plus Killer Shack nearby, and a majority of its pallet loops are incredibly safe. So for the early game, my main focus is to provide as much pressure as possible to survivors to keep them off the generators as long as possible, and to remove pallets from the map, creating dead zones for future chases. Now you'll see that Yui is actually running to Shack and towards the corrupted gens where I don't have a lot of pressure. So after I miss this shot, I don't really want to chase anymore. I'm actually going to swing back around here and look for the survivor who just hopped onto the generator. You always want to go for those easier chases first, and it's a really big deal to hit and run early game if possible, especially when you're running something like Sloppy Butcher, as Pinhead can really traverse the map well with his teleport power, and if everyone's injured, you get a lot more value for it. So don't feel afraid to give up a chase in order to teleport to the other side of the map to provide pressure on other survivors. Now we did teleport to the corrupted side of the map, and we don't want to spend too much time over here, so maybe a little bit of a mind game, a single hit, that's really what I'm looking for here, unless it transpires into a fast down. But we're really trying to save this early game by purely getting rid of resources and pallets and providing pressure with Sloppy Butcher, as we do know that this survivor here does seem like they like to keep themselves fully healed, as you see with this Yui who made a nice sharp turn. And now of course we get to go ahead and get rid of our first pallet of the game. Getting rid of pallets is something that a lot of killers don't talk about, and there's a very big importance to it. Whenever you get rid of a pallet, especially a safe pallet, you are potentially creating a dead zone for future chases. So while we don't have a ton of pressure right now in the forms of hooks, we are providing pressure by keeping survivors off gens, keeping them healing because this group is healing, and removing their resources for future chases. And of course, with Pinhead's passive chain hunt, that will also draw survivors' attention away from the generators. Right here I noticed Yui being very aware and looking out for my gateway chain, so that way she could start moving erratically to make it more difficult to hit her. When survivors do this, just hold your gateway and they will keep dodging but not gaining any distance like so. This allows us to go ahead and get a free hit.
What a waste of pure suffering.
Right here, Claudette's looking to solve the configuration, so I want to get a hold of her, but since I'm not able to, I'm just going to go ahead and teleport. That way I'm just a little bit closer than I was originally, and it does keep her in place so she can't move. Now, playing around main building here is never fun. Even though we do get this free hit here, it's still a very risky area to play around. Now you can see what Ace is actually doing here is not only is he taking aggro for her and we're able to get a free hit for it, but he did cut her chains by running through them. So I want to drop that chase because she's not running to any of the gens that are currently over here by the closer 3 or 4 gen. You never want to chase a survivor away from active gens if you can help it. There will be times where you do have to waste time, like this chase here, where we're going to waste time at main building because I'm aware that I chased 2 injured survivors into a corner of the map who are now going to be encouraged to heal. So that's something that we really want to focus on. You're always watching that left side and seeing if survivors are healing. If they're not, I would cut this chase a lot shorter. Going for chains is always a lot simpler when you can catch a survivor dropping a pallet. And this allows Pinhead to play around a majority of pallet loops so long as you do land that chain. And survivors really should look to dead hard the chain if they are injured, rather than the swing itself from the basic attack. Now we are teleporting away from our gens, and this is okay at the moment because I know someone has to come and save Ace, and I'm really only looking for 1 hit here. But since Claudette is making her way over to some of the active generators right now, I do want to continue the chase just a little bit, and again, I'm looking for a resource. I'm not necessarily looking to down Claudette here, as I'm assuming she will be safe either way with the pallet, but we managed to hear right behind us the gen, and because she's in a safe zone, we're going to pull off, use our Pop Goes the Weasel, and remove the boon, which I'm guessing is Circle of Healing, from play. Whenever you remove a boon Circle of Healing, especially if you're running a hit and run killer or just hit and run playstyle in general, you are encouraging survivors to come back and reset up again. Do remember, as Pinhead, survivors can't use their exhaustibles when chained, so that's what we're going to chain here, down Ace so we don't have to worry about the dead hard. And we do see Yui looking for a save. I didn't want to pick up Ace anyways because of the potential of Decisive Strike, and we can use him as pressure right now. We're going to hold forward, we're going to eat any pallet. I'm never going to respect a pallet until I have a reason to do so. And we're going to look to go for a quick basic attack on Yui here as she kind of slides past us. But because we've been breaking all the pallets in this area over time, there's not really a lot for her to do here. And we can look at Ace, make sure that no one's coming for him at the moment, and kind of continue our chase onto Yui here. A good chain is going to go ahead and secure this down for us. We see the scratch marks, we know they're going to pick up Ace. There's no point in wasting time to go over there. We do want to get somebody on a Scourge Hook. And Claudette, again, wasting more time. And this is something that survivors have to do anyways. But she's wasting time by finishing that box, by solving it, which is just buying us more time to get things done. Pinhead really is just an insane slowdown killer. And he's very rough to play against for survivors, especially when you are balancing everything out like we are here. Now I see Claudette, but because the gen to my right really isn't going, I'm really not forced to go after her, and she's not running 2 gens, so I'm just going to give up the chase. It's totally okay for you to give up the chase, and we're going to rotate back around, check our gens, make sure that we're not losing gens here on the side, especially this 3 gen. We definitely want to watch that if we can, and we'll rotate back to the hook because that's obviously where the survivors have to go if they're not on gens, right? So we just go ahead and make that call, and again we're looking for some extra free pressure, not necessarily looking to go after the Yui who just got unhooked because of potential for Decisive Strike. Now if she would have ran to me, I definitely would have left her slugged, or maybe played around it, or if I felt like the risk was there and I needed to get a survivor out. If you are ever really far behind and you feel like you need to take that risk, you can. Right here though, we managed to get ourselves our nice down, and another survivor again going to go on the Scourge Hook. It's very hard for any good survivor. You know, you can only play with what you have, and since we've been removing a lot of the resources, there's really just not much in that middle section outside of the main vaults to play with. I do see Ace over here working on this gen. He has so much distance here that we need to be a little bit careful. We don't want to just go chase him. We want to have bought ourselves pressure to do so. So maybe looking for another few hits. We can slow his progress down here with Pop Goes Weasel. Of course, we see the scratch mark, so now we're going to go back to Hook for a quick second. Maybe find Yui here or Claudette. We do manage to see Claudette, which is great. Claudette's taking the left way around. Thankfully, this spawn on Growing Storehouse wasn't too bad. That tile to the left can be a jungle gym. This round it wasn't, which is really good for us as a killer. Now, we are back at main building. I am going to watch. We don't want her to take main building. And as soon as I miss that chain, I'm over the chase. I no longer want it. She can run, you know, every time you miss a chain as Pinhead, you are sacrificing a lot of time. But what I did there is I left 3 survivors who we already know like to heal up together. And we actually see one right here, which is even better. She did heal herself. We have 2 survivors now intact, which means only 2 other survivors can be on gens if it's in a perfect world and they're not healing. This buys us time to be away from the gens and to chase down Ace. You always need to be aware of the time that you are wasting or utilizing. We also see here, though, look where Nia's at. She took that box and went to a very safe area. We don't want to teleport to that. If she was in a dead zone, I would actually leave Ace and then teleport to Nia, down Nia, and get ourselves a crazy amount of pressure. That's why being injured against Pinhead is such a threat. This is why survivors often look to heal against him. You do not want to treat this as a, okay, we can just do gens and bounce. Because if you are all injured and Pinhead just happens to get a really good teleport, you're going to be in danger. Another thing at time efficiency wise is whenever a survivor takes a box, let's just say away from the gens, that's time that they also have to walk away and back to gens to continue the game. We do happen to have Ace also pinched into a corner. We notice the Yui, but we also notice Claudette. We're definitely going to go for Claudette here. Again, we have sight on 3 survivors right now, right? Claudette, Ace, and Yui. Yui's gonna hop on that gen. We're gonna go ahead and chase down the Ace here. I'm not looking to just go ahead and take Ace out. I am still very aware and currently worried of a potential decisive strike. I am gonna leave him on the ground. Yui is solving the box a little early, and she's solving in the dead zone that we created a while ago. She's also on Death Hook. This is a very big misplay on her part, and something that we want to look to capitalize on. Now, last time I held out my gateway. This time I want to mix it up and tag her with it right away. Something that she wouldn't expect. Now, we're not dealing with bad survivors in any way. These guys are being very aware. They do know how to at least apparently play against a normal Pinhead. And so she's being, even like right here when we go for the gateway, look how she turns back into that wall. That's not a normal move. Most survivors are going to just beeline to that vault, take the vault, and break away. Her teammate Claudette, this could be Swift, I'm not positive, I never really looked to care about it, but you can see Claudette is looking to break away chains and take a hit or even go down for Yui. Because losing a survivor at this point in the game is very, very bad. Because the vault's coming up here, we are going to hit Claudette, and I am going to look to go for Claudette right here. And of course, until I see that Yui to my right side is now going back to a TNL wall, which is something we can always look to try and play around, or force if we have to. You can force loops at TNL by running survivors on the L. Thankfully, with a nice down like that and a lot of pressure built up, we are going to be removing our first survivor from the game, which is very important as killer. You don't necessarily need to force a survivor out of the game right away unless it's given to you. But you do want to get a survivor out as soon as possible without throwing the game for it. As you can hear behind me, that gen right there was almost done as well. So it's not like these guys are not trying to get gens done. They are cranking on them. We're just providing that much pressure. We're forcing survivors off. This also comes, of course, with the help of perks, such as Pop and Scourge Hook. That is a lot of slowdown, especially on one gen at a time. Claudette doing a very good job here by blocking my chains, and of course we're going to get ourselves still a free hit, but she is taking aggro, which is good. It's also good for us, though, that we don't stay on one chase and get stuck to it. We're always looking for the easy chase. I could teleport to Nia here, but there's no point because we're in a dead zone, and Ace is just kind of screwed here. No matter how good he is, He could be a god right now, and he's going down outside of the fact of maybe a dead hard or a 360. And this is where that early game of, you know, taking the pressure and the resources away from the survivors. And this is why we're able to build up such a strong middle to end game. If I were to give these survivors a long chase, I can guarantee you these guys will run very, very well, and they'll do it early game too. That's why you don't want to force chases early on. You always want to look for easier hits or more free hits. This does get more and more difficult as survivors with better and better communication go up, but it's still extremely difficult to play around a killer who's doing this kind of strategy. I missed my chain, so I'm immediately looking to give up the chase. Unfortunately, with this teleport, it spawned me behind Claudette. I was hoping for the exact opposite. I was hoping it spawned me more in front of her, and it would force her into that little corner back there. That's a very good corner to play as for killer, because survivors really don't have an out without passing the killer. Quick little pause for a mind game. This makes Claudette go around, and we get ourselves our first free hit. Now, for the sake of things, what we really want to do is I kind of want to show a chase in general. I am going to look to chase this Claudette as hard as I can. And just, you know, look at how when she's maneuvering, she is making all the right plays. She does have dead hard. She's not only going to dead hard at basic, but she would dead hard the chains. That's very important. Her dead harding those chains saves her from going down after the pallet drop. Now, what you should do here, if this was all 4 survivors up, you would just break the pallet and get rid of the resource. I try, of course, to try and play around it, maybe go for a quicker down. Just doesn't happen. Claudette's not going to fall for it. She's good enough at least to combine the 2 loops together to make a very safe loop. And we're going to get tired of it. I'm just going to break the pallet. Now, again, we're back kind of in dead zone. We are back at the TNL. Again, she's being very aware. She's playing very well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to do what I call forcing the L. So what I'm looking to do is I'm basically just going to run her around. I want her to stay at this loop, so I'm always going to fake a mind game. But I'm just going to force this until she runs it 3 times. And then it'll be blocked off by an entity, and we're going to go ahead and get her down either way. You don't do this early on in the game. You do it later on to maybe secure a down, which would be otherwise take a little bit longer. She's smart enough, though, to recognize that and immediately beelines out of there to go for main building, which is, again, strong loop, and you just see these survivors coming in and taking hits for each other. Obviously, if I would have taken this kind of chase earlier on in the game, this could be completely game throwing, but for right now, we're obviously allowed to play with it, and it gives, you know, a moment for survivors to show their skill as well. That chain there basically just denies her from being able to take the vault. And of course, you do see dead hard. Until dead hard gets nerfed, you pretty much always expect it. But again, after that dead hard and after that, you know, she doesn't have anything else to play with because we've removed those resources. Now, this has already been a long game, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to force this right here. We're just going ahead and give Claudette the chance to get hatch. I never really force the 4K. It's never really something I care about. I always care more about getting to the next game. And what we're looking to do here is I'm just keeping an eye out for Claudette until Nia basically gives up on the hook, like so. And now it comes down to Claudette having the potential to get hatch. If she does, that's great. If not, no biggie. It's a win either way. I want to thank you guys all so much for coming out. I know it's been forever since we've done a rank 1 mindset. I've changed a lot of things. Let me know what you think. Definitely down in the comment section below. Also, who do you want to see next for a future rank 1 mindset? I'm looking to do maybe 2 of these a month and get back onto it and maybe just lax up a little bit. Also, if you are a Pinhead main and you play a lot of Pinhead, make sure to leave some tips down in the comment section below for maybe some new aspiring Pinhead mains. But alright everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Much love, and until next time, I'm Red, and I'm signing off.
Are you just gonna take that?